All right, everyone, I gotta come clean about something.
Clean, 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 boo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Can you not trivialize this? I'm trying to talk on a serious issue, and you're just making fun of it. You're just
Hey.
making light of.
What city has the most people?
This is no time for city trivia, David.
You just said, can you not trivial this? Trivia this.
So
What city has the most people, Nick?
I don't know. Dubai.
It's Tokyo. Tokyo is the most populated city in America. Or the world. Yeah, in America. Tokyo, fucking Tennessee.
Tokyo, Tennessee. And you know they have the shittiest sushi places because they're like, yeah, you're in Tokyo. And then it's, just like fucking potatoes on it's just like a Dunkin' Donuts hash brown with like a little bit of tuna on it. Anyway, everybody, I'm sorry. Last episode, when introducing the car, I got it wrong. I got the details wrong. I said that it was a 2014 Dodge Viper RT10, and that Jordan Belfort would have been driving it if Wolf of Wall Street took place in the year that the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was more right than I thought I was, because this is not a 2014, but it is a 1994 Dodge Viper RT10. So I was more right than I thought I was. He honestly might have been driving this car.
There you go.
In the time. So anyway, I felt like a dummy. I felt like a dummy butthole idiot asshole for getting that detail wrong and being so confident about it. But now we can't go back and change it. I just want to get ahead of the curve because we don't want this to be coming out like 5 years later. We don't want a TMZ story to break out that says Nick Scarpin Auto of Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars thinks his audience is dumb. And then I have to defend myself and then go on Dr. Phil and I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I'm too busy trying to beat Breath of the Wild, and I will be in 5 years too, because at this rate,
Unreal.
I haven't. Okay, so to be fair, the last couple of days, the last week, since whatever, we're in the beginning of July now, so happy July, everybody. And for those of you who observe 4th of July, have a safe holiday. Don't burn any fingers off or explode any hands. You idiots. Also know that if you play Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, it's not a patriotic song at all. It's about, from what I understand, the U.S.
a real American. Fight for your rights. Fight for the whites. I don't fucking know.
Probably, though.
I don't know.
Probably. But apparently
Play
Born
that
in the
song.
USA is about
Protest.
Bruce Springsteen's...
It's a protest song.
Yeah, because U.S., the country that sent him out and gave him PTSD doesn't want to do anything about it, so he comes home to his hometown and, he's like... Yeah, it's a protest song, really. So if you play Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, just know that. So for all of my cool people out there, blast it as loud as you can, and no one will be able to tell the difference. No one will know, but you'll know. You'll know that you're playing it ironically.
Yep.
Yep. Welcome to the Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars podcast. My name is Nick Scarpin Auto.
Yo soy David Kabushikars.
This is our lovely co-host Vanessa. She's my daughter, and she's not allowed to play with sparklers because she actually lost her hands in a childhood accident playing with sparklers. That's why she doesn't have any.
Damn.
Yeah, it was quite tragic. Everyone saw it coming, but nobody did anything to stop it, myself included. You gotta learn. You gotta learn these type of lessons when you're a kid. And here we have the 1969 nice Camaro SS. We have a 1969 Camaro, and it is brown. It is dookie brown, but underneath the light in my room right now, it is like a purple. I could have chosen a patriotic car, but hey, focus. Focus, camera.
It doesn't matter.
Focus, camera.
It's gonna be too late later anyway. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. By the time we post this, it's gonna be well after the 4th of July. So, the once red, white, and blue car has now rusted over because we let it sit out in the sun for too long. Hey, did you remember that car that we would pass by on our way back home from middle school that had?
Yes.
So there was a car.
Yes.
David and I, we always walked back home from middle school with our friend Josh Lopez. Shout out Lopez. And sometimes we would have a guest on the podcast, which at the time was just a walk cast. And we would walk back home, and every day we would pass by the same house and the same driveway with the same car that had a naked lady on it. And we would
the entire hood. It wasn't just
it
wasn't just a sticker like on the front. It was painted over the entire car hood.
And we would walk past this thing so often, and I guess someone's mom complained, because then at some point throughout the year they covered the car up. But we knew it was under the cover. It was a sexy lady. And I thought about her every night. So that was the first time I ever got into cars, but it was for all the wrong reasons. It was never good. What have you been up to, buddy? What have you been? I see you have a new amiibo back there. Not sponsored.
That is not an amiibo. That is just a bigger version. That is just a big statue of Zelda, but it is the exact same thing as the amiibo.
Ooh.
Like, it's the same thing. It's just like larger. So.
Yeah. Well, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to just keep getting bigger and bigger statues until you have a life-sized.
I don't know if I can get away with that. But yeah,
you can find space. You can find room. When did you pick that up?
Showed up like 2 days ago.
I didn't think you were it just showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone else ordered it, but it came here, so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got it. It was like $67. I was like, I'll get it.
Yeah, that's if you see a figurine of high quality that's less than, it's like $100.
Like on the official website, it's like $115. So.
Oh damn. Yeah, figurine collecting. That's the one. There are levels to being a nerd about stuff, right? There's like surface level nerd. That's I would consider the general public. Anyone who has watched a superhero movie before and enjoyed it, they're a surface level nerd. They at least know who Iron Man is. They know with great power comes great responsibility. And then, level beyond that, you start playing video games, right? But, pretty regularly. So it's like, yeah, I have a PS4 or I have a Switch. That makes you a nerd. Whether you like it or not, if you own a video game console, you are a nerd. Even just to and that's not a bad thing, right? Like, nerd is not a dirty word.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a Jason Mraz lyric, by the way. It's not, but it's a nerd is not a dirty word. Something like that. And then beyond that, the next level after video games, I feel like you start watching anime because one of your friends who also plays video games, who
very large. It's very large.
Hi Zelda. Hi baby.
Waifu, bro, right here.
Yeah, and that's the level that I think I'm currently at. Is I watch anime, I collect figurines, because like you could be the type of person that watches like, the occasional episode of like, I'm trying to think of popular anime, like Attack on Titan or My Hero or Demon Slayer, and like you don't go to conventions or whatever. So now we're on level 4, where you do go to conventions, you do watch anime, you do play video games. You're aware of Universal Studios Japan. And the next level I hope neither of us get to is the body pillow level. Where
I could not get away with that, even if I
where
wanted
you have a room. Listen, it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to admit that at a certain level you are in deeper than most people, where you have a whole room dedicated to your figurines. You got them in glass cases. You got shelving units for them. You got posters all over the wall. You have DVD collections.
When you go Chris Chan mode, that is when you go too far.
Yeah, that is going too far. But yeah, I would say both of us are currently at level 4, which is, it's a comfortable level. It's a comfortable level to be at, because I'm not embarrassed wearing my anime stuff outside. But because I feel like there are more people out there at this level than we'd like to believe, especially now that anime is so easy to find. It's so much more easily consumable.
Don't be the guy that one time I was working at Discount Tire who showed up with like hentai stickers plastered all over his car, inside and outside.
Oh God. Yeah, dude. Those. Yeah. You gotta touch some grass.
That. Hold it. Rethink.
Yeah.
Rethink your life.
Yeah, if you're thinking about getting pictures of naked 2D women on your car. Oh my God, the dude with the car at the naked lady, he was at level 5.
Yeah, but was it like a cartoon woman? I don't remember that much.
I don't remember that much either, but if you have any naked person on your car, sticker, paint, otherwise, I don't care if you don't even watch anime. You're a level 5 nerd, because that's some shit that anime nerds do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna put a half naked picture of Nami on my gas door.
See, I don't know who that is, so I'm safe.
Yeah, and I only know who that is and have seen the product but haven't bought it. So I'm safe. Anyway. Enough about talking about naked anime girls. We got to get on to talking about what we're going to be talking about today, which we're going back to the old method of favorites and our top 10 lists of things. Because last episode we did that too.
AKA, it's not a top anything. 10 albums, 15 games, and whatever random number of movies. It's just a general list of favorites.
Yeah, it's just a list of favorites. So with movies, we're breaking it down genre-wise. So last couple episodes, we did comedy. I talked about Tommy Boy. David talked about Wolf of Wall Street. And so today, because we're in the middle of summer, a.k.a. summer blockbuster season, we're going to talk about action movies. And I have a feeling that I already know what your top action movie is. I have a feeling, just a hunch, based on recent history. But my favorite action movie, at least off the top of my head, some people wouldn't even consider an action movie because it plays on the tropes of action movies while also it's a self-aware. I changed up my answer. It's The Other Guys. Oh. My favorite action movie is The Other Guys.
I was about to be like, my name is Jeff.
Because it was 21 Jump Street. Because here's the thing about both movies. 21 Jump Street and The Other Guys are both action comedies that subvert action movie tropes. On one hand, 21 Jump Street, you have the subversing. Whoa. I've never used that as a verb before, like an active verb. You have all of the high school tropes that you're subverting, and in The Other Guys, you have pure action movie tropes that you're subverting. So I think it kind of wins as like an action movie by default. But also, I am constantly reminded of The Other Guys as a movie because whenever I play My Hero by the Foo Fighters, I always think about the first time I saw the scene with Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock,
Aim for the bushes.
who are both huge action stars in their own rights, but they're chasing after a criminal, and they're standing at the edge of a tall building, and they look at each other, and they're like, aim for the bushes, you know it, and then they like, fist pound like action movie bros, and then you hear the and then they jump, and then you see them falling, and you see pavement below them. There are no bushes. And it's just this long shot of them like falling, and then they hit the ground, and then the music stops, and then they're dead. It was so funny. The first time I saw it, I damn near pissed my pants. But no, The Other Guys stars Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and they play basically people who work in the office alongside like actual action heroes. And Mark Wahlberg wants to get out there and be a real cop. He doesn't want to just be a desk jockey. And Will Ferrell has an interesting past, but which leads him to not want to do that, but he ends up partnering up with Mark Wahlberg and blah blah blah. It's got a lot of good action sequences in it. I'm just gonna say there's a lot of gun shooting. There's a chase scene towards the end. There's a scene with a big old explosion where Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are talking about how cool guys walk away from explosions in every action movie, but they're like, how? My ears are ringing. Like, it's the way that they comment on how dumb action movies can be. It was very refreshing to watch at the time, and I remember there's so many quotable parts of that movie. There's the whole crocodile scene where Will Ferrell talks about being a pimp in his past life. There's the police captain played by Michael Keaton who keeps quoting TLC songs. And Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are like what did you say? And then the captain's like, yeah, just don't go chasing waterfalls, right? Like, don't go chasing false leads. And they're like, are you quoting TLC? And he's like, what is that? And he pretends to not know what TLC is. He also works in a Bed Bath & Beyond, which I find, yeah. When was the last time you saw that movie?
The one time we saw it in theaters.
Really? In 2010?
Yeah. It's my one and only time seeing that movie.
Wow. It's been a little bit more recently for me, but yeah, man, when I think about action movies, it's like we were just talking about it before starting the episode. Every movie now, it seems like has action in it. Like there are hardly ever any movies that come out these days that are just that could be considered one genre, unless it's like drama. I feel like there are a lot of
Extraction 2 that just came out, I guess, is like a top tier action movie.
with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, apparently that one's like damn good, like John Wick level status good. I just
really
haven't seen it because
yeah,
I don't know what the hell it is.
I don't either, and that's the thing about action movies. Like I feel like a lot of the plots. You don't go to an action movie to watch the plot. You go to an action movie to watch the explosions, the action, the practical effects, and every other, like if you look at a list of top 100 action movies of all time or whatever, you'll see a lot of sci-fi movies. You'll see a lot of superhero movies. You'll see a lot of not horror movies, but like thrillers. Like one website called Scarface, an action movie. And I'm like, I don't know if I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I would call it an action movie. Excuse me, I just hacked up a lung. And so it's hard for me to sift through all of the movies that I've seen in my brain to be like, oh yeah, that is the best action movie I've ever seen. Because as much as I wanted to throw Enter the Dragon out there or like Ip Man or The Raid, I either haven't seen those movies or haven't seen them in a very, very long time. So I would feel weird if I just threw them on the list. Because truth be told, I don't watch a whole lot of movies anymore unless they are superhero movies or, you know, every once in a while we'll go see like a Ghibli movie. And it's like those aren't action.
Yeah.
Dude, if I could consider Kiki's Delivery Service an action movie because of the last scene,
Yeah, right.
I would. Yeah, had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. So, I like the other guys. I think it's a fun watch, especially if you are an action movie fan and you recognize the tropes and all of the self-awareness of the genre as a whole. But if you're looking for other really, really good action movies, again, a lot of movies have action in them, but Mad Max Fury Road, that always pops up as like action because it's got a lot of explosions and fire and, you know, practical effects and stunts. The Expendables is kind of a series that celebrates all of the biggest action, like male action stars of the last 40 years. Speaking of 40 years, anything with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone in it, basically like from the years of like 1980 to 1994. Because you got Predator, you got Commando, you got Rambo, you got Last Action Hero,
Rambo Commando, Rambo Commando, Rambo Commando.
So yeah, also all the Fast and Furious movies, but I don't care. The only one that I watched in theaters was the last one that Paul Walker was in, and I admit I shed a tear.
More like the Fat and the Furious.
Oh!
You gotta race Smithers to the Burns' mansion.
Yeah, so if you want to call Hit and Run an action game,
it is action.
Good.
And then again, pretty much every game is action, unless it's some stupid like
a puzzle game. Unless it's like brain tease. What the brain games. Yeah, this turned out to be a little less climactic of a episode topic than I thought, considering that this is the action episode. But I'm sure David's got a really good pick, and I'm sure...
very good pick.
Listen, if y'all have any recommendations for action movies for me to watch, other than John Wick, because I
John Wick, you bastard. You fucking bastard. God damn it.
I haven't seen a single John Wick movie. And I can probably guarantee that if I had seen any of them, one of them would be my top action movie. But at least reflecting on it, thinking about it, The Other Guys was my favorite action movie for the moment. And that's the thing about these kind of favorite lists of things is we want to act like there's a definitive spot for all of these movies and games and albums and whatever, but they're always subject to change. You know why? Because we're always subject to change, and our tastes are always subject to change. So this is basically me putting up a buffer, so that if any of you don't like my choices, then you can suck on it, fucking whatever. You know, I don't care. I don't care, because I'm a different person. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna be a different person, and I will have seen John Wick in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we will see. We will see, won't we?
We will.
Oh, Hot Rod. No, I'm not. This is never mind. I could go on and on about this, but we don't have all day. Hey man, you know it's got a lot of action to it. Putting on a good old record, putting on a record that you really like, and sometimes you just get into a mood and you listen to an album that makes you want to punch stuff and drive through explosions, and and this next album is it's not that. It's not that. Actually, this album makes me want to just chill out and listen.
Chill out.
Chill out.
That's fucking everything on your list, bro.
It's not
All
everything.
you got is chilling out music.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe you should give this number 7 album a listen, because my number 7 favorite album of all time is All the Stars and Boulevards by Augustana. And for those of you who don't know, I recently, in the last 2 months, put out a video detailing all my top 10 favorite albums of all time. So if you want to check that out, I'll put it in the link below on YouTube, or you can just look it up on YouTube. But I go into detail about all of these albums briefly, but here on the podcast, I feel like we're allowed a little bit more time to just marinate on certain aspects of these albums. So All the Stars and Boulevards, a brief history of this album for me is we would go to Disc Replay and Half Price Books all the time. In high school, I was there at least once a week, just looking through their discount bins, trying to find $2 CDs, any CD that I recognized a song from that was like $2. I would buy it, I would listen to it, and then I would just keep it. Like I bought a couple albums that way. Couple albums that I really enjoyed, like this one, and a couple albums that I didn't really enjoy, like 4 by Blues Traveler. God, dude, I bought that album for like 2 songs, and then the rest of it is just, it's very bleh. But this one was kind of a weird case because I didn't ever specifically seek it. It was just an album that I saw all the time. I would go and I would see a copy, or at least I would see one copy of this if there weren't many copies. And I would pick it up every once in a while, and I would look on the back to see if I recognized any songs, and I saw one song that was called Boston, and I was like, oh, I think I remember hearing someone play that on like MySpace or whatever, on their homepage on MySpace. But I never picked it up because I was like, it's a chill piano song. Like I don't know if I'm into that. And every time I would come back to Disc Replay to find another album, I would always find this one. And it got to a point where I was annoyed. I was annoyed that I was finding it so often, because I wanted it to be like Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card, or like a Foo Fighters album or whatever. So eventually I caved, I bit the bullet, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to buy it, but I am going to go home, I'm going to listen to it, I'm going to see if I like it. And I listened to it first time through, and I was very unimpressed. I was like, it's just a run-of-the-mill rock album with like one or two good songs. So I would go back and I'd listen to those 2 songs. And then on YouTube, they would always have in the recommended videos section right next to the video, they would always have like videos of another song with the same album artwork. So I'd just click on that. So I would listen to that other song that YouTube was like, oh, you might like this. And I listened to it again, and I'm like, yeah, actually this isn't that bad. And over time, I listened to all of the songs from the album, realized that I did in fact like the album. It just needed a little bit of time to settle and hang and marinate. I already used that word this podcast, so I feel very redundant, but that's a me problem. I ended up putting this in like my top listened albums, like when I was in college. Skip ahead a couple of years, I'd drive back and forth from school, and it was a 2.5 hour drive. I would always listen to a couple of albums that ended up here in my top 10 list. And for Augustana, obviously you have Boston, which is the song that everyone is going to know if they've recognized the name. It's the piano ballad, and what surprised me the most was that this album is not, like, Boston doesn't represent everything that this album has to offer. there are plenty of songs on here that are way, not even heavier than Boston is, but are more rock forward. Like the opener. Oh. The opener, which I believe is called Mayfield.
Come on, bro. How do you not know?
Yeah, it is Mayfield.
7th favorite of all time.
Hey! Oh, so, okay. It's one of those where, kind of like with my games list, I listened to it a lot, so the music is kind of ingrained in my soul. But because I don't go on a whole lot of longer drives anymore, I don't get a chance to listen to full albums anymore. So, but this one I listened to a lot. Hotel Roosevelt is probably my album highlight here. I love the way that the drums kind of mix with the electric piano in the very beginning. And this song came out in 2005. I am not kidding when I tell you that listening to this album, it doesn't remind me of being 10 years old because this is the music that I was listening to at the time, but it reminds me of being in like the mid 2000s because it's the vibe that it puts in my head. It reminds me of like watching How I Met Your Mother. It reminds me of like being in the computer lab at high school and looking out the window at like the fall trees. It reminds me of walking back home from middle school after asking my crush out, one of my crushes, and getting shot down. But like we don't have to focus on that part of it. Yeah, Hotel Roosevelt is a favorite of mine. Stars and Boulevards, the song, feels like this band trying to write a classic song in the style of like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, but it kind of takes on a life of its own. The production on the album isn't the best production ever, but it reminds me of a lot of DIY productions that you'll hear today where it's just amps for guitars, you have the drums, and you have the bass, and instead of trying to like make it sound as perfect as possible, you just let it sound human, and you just keep all of the like the human element to it. Like if a band like kind of falls out of tempo for a second, you just go with it. If there's a mistake, if you hear like squeaking on the strings, or if you hear like chords that don't play out all the way, I like hearing that kind of stuff, and this album has that all over it. There are a couple of slower, softer songs here. Obviously, Boston, like I mentioned, starts out on piano, but that gets really big towards the end. The song Sunday Best is always interesting to listen to because that doesn't ever really get big, but it kind of informed a lot of my songwriting in high school, because back then in middle school, high school, I always thought that songs had to have solos and big riffy sections, and this album was part of the reason that I got over that, and I got over that mental hurdle and started writing songs that didn't have solos or didn't have solo sections or didn't have riffs, and just prioritized interesting chord progressions and interesting melodies on top of those. This album singularly helped me make great strides as a songwriter and as a performer. So I really don't think there's a bad song on here. I think there are a lot of like 7 out of 10 songs on here, and the whole thing kind of mushes together and creates a cohesive sound that not a whole lot of albums that I listen to now do. And for some people that's a good thing. For some people that's a bad thing. Like I know with AC/DC, anytime I listen to like a whole album of theirs, which isn't very often, but I used to, it all just kind of sounded the same to me. And then they would release their next album and it would sound the exact same. And they just released an album a couple years ago. And guess what? It sounds just like AC/DC. It sounds, and I think there's a difference between consistency and, consistency with growth in your storytelling and your production. And then there's like copy and pasting. And I think this album, over the course of its, 40-minute runtime or whatever, there are songs that differentiate themselves enough with certain instruments that they use or time signatures or whatever, but it all feels like it came from the same band, and I admire that. I admire that a lot. So Augustana, if you're listening, which, let's be honest, you're definitely listening. Thank you for helping inspire me to write songs that made more sense for me to start writing, if that makes any sense, if that comes through. Listen to Boston. I know it was featured in, bless you. I know it was featured in the OC, one of those like early 2000s drama series. And give Augustana a shot. If you miss the 2000s, the early 2000s, this might be the album for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Never heard of it in my life.
I was just gonna say it's that's a whole lot of nothing out of you. I don't know anything you just said. Not one word. So. Well, and that's okay.
I'll listen to it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'll also be around. Well, will I? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you think whenever you do. And also, if you guys listen to it, let me know what you think. Find us on YouTube and make a comment on the video, and or maybe we'll start doing poll questions. Poll question. I know Anchor, like now it's Spotify for podcasters. Stop it. I'm getting I don't know if you can hear that, the text notifications.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you can't? Okay, good. Whew. But yeah, I guess we move on. I guess we move on to the last and final and end, and another synonym for, unbeginning.
Game.
Yeah.
Games. Hugar. Time to Hugar.
Time to Hugar. So, this list for me, it's split up into two, basically. So we took the number 15, which is kind of an arbitrary number, but there are a lot of games that we really like. And I split it into the top half and the bottom half, because I haven't played. I've played a lot of games as a kid, but they're all like movie tie-in games. They're not like, they're not like games for the sake of like games. And as an adult, as a teenager and adult, I haven't really played as much on my own. So the first half, numbers 1 through 7, I think are all like games that I've played recently and have an adult, criticizing. I have the vocabulary and the experience to criticize them as objectively as possible. But the second half of my list, like 9 through 15, they're all games that I played a lot as a kid or a lot as a teenager, and I can look at and observe, like, yeah, there are better versions of that game out now, or it just doesn't hold up super well, but I played it a lot and I liked it a lot, so it means a lot to me. So going up the list, we had Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. You could replace that with like Fighters. You could replace that with Budokai Tenkaichi 4 whenever that comes out. Yeah, Guitar Hero 2. There's so many replacements for Guitar Hero 2. What's the one that you play? The modded one?
Clone Hero.
Yeah, you could play Clone Hero. It's accessible now to play Guitar Hero songs in Guitar Hero. Street Fighter 4 is my next one. Street Fighter 6 just came out, and apparently people really like it. Like, most people really like it. Even people who don't play fighting games are like, yeah, this is a good game. And I have yet to get it because I need to get a PS5 before I start buying games again, because I don't want to feel like an idiot who... I don't want to feel left behind, you know? And you were telling me about Spider-Man PS4, who does not appear on this list, but a Spider-Man game does appear on it. Spider-Man PS4, or Miles Morales runs like shit on PS4.
Yeah.
So it's like, why even bother trying to... But you can play Miles Morales or Spider-Man PS4, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. That means that my next game, my number 12 game, is Ultimate Spider-Man for the PS2. I don't know how many of you have played this game before, but I remember... Do you remember how I got this game?
Is it Oscar?
Yeah. There was a neighborhood kid named Oscar who I don't know how it happened. I think I straight up tried to steal the game from him. And then we convinced...
He tried to steal a game from me, so...
Yeah,
there's a lot
so
of that
it was
going on.
eye for an eye. But he left without a case. It was the deluxe edition of Ultimate Spider-Man for PS2, and it had the purple cover on it, and I remember it so vividly, and I took it, and he was like, "Where's my game?" And we were like, "You don't have that game." And we basically gaslighted him into believing that he didn't actually own Ultimate Spider-Man. In hindsight, it was a really shitty thing to do. But I took the game home, and the basic premise of the game is it's the first time that you ever get to play as Venom. But it's not a Venom solo game. It's basically you play the same story, but every once in a while you'll switch from Spider-Man, Peter Parker, to Venom, to Eddie Brock, and you play their side of each story. So Spider-Man obviously controls a lot like Spider-Man. The web swinging is very fluid. The combat is very acrobatic. There's a lot of time trials where you have to race against Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four. And the story, which I can't really remember, because it's been a while since I've played that. If they remaster Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm going to piss my pants, because I love that game so much. They probably won't, because Spider-Man PS4 is doing so well, but then when you shift to the Venom side, he plays a lot differently. He almost plays more like the Hulk. If you've ever played as the Hulk in like Ultimate Destruction or like one of the, Avengers games, he does like a lot of big jumps where you can charge a jump and then, soar into the sky. You can climb walls, but because you're just like forcing your fists into the side of the wall, you can eat people, which is so fun because like your health is constantly draining. So you need to like take people with your tendrils, and then you just like absorb them and eat them. I'm pretty sure there's a mission where you have to eat a child. Nice. I can't you eat a kid, and then like his Spider-Man balloon starts to float up into the sky. And I remember chasing the balloon as high as I could, just because I wanted to see how far I could go. But yeah, and inevitably you end up fighting Venom as like the final boss in the game as Spider-Man, but it was one of the first open world games I ever played, and getting to find collectibles and do challenges and swing around New York, it was some of the most fun that I ever had. I love this game so much. I forget who voiced Peter Parker, but it was one of my favorite. Like he was my Spider-Man for a really long time. You can unlock different costumes, like which I feel like is a staple in Spider-Man games now, but before it felt like so unique. Yeah, and it came out. Let's see. It came out in 2005 on September 22nd, and a couple years later they released Spider-Man 3, based on the movie. And it just wasn't the same. It didn't play the same.
Spider-Man 3 was dog shit, bro.
Was it?
That was a terrible game.
I definitely rented it. I remember when they did all of the Spider-Man 3, like the promotional stuff. Like they had Spider-Man 3 Pop-Tarts, I'm pretty sure. They had Spider-Man 3 like toys at Burger King. They had, dude, there was so much Spider-Man 3 stuff. But yeah, because this was Ultimate Spider-Man, when you fight like Rhino, he's a guy in a big metal suit, and he's not the skin suit Rhino. Also there's Carnage. Carnage is in this game. I totally forgot about Carnage. Yeah, Shield is in this game. You end up fighting what's her name? It's Silver Sable. I think she's a Shield agent. Nick Fury plays a huge role in this game. So it's like it was very revolutionary for me to see Spider-Man interact with other Marvel heroes. Because like I said, you get to race against the Human Torch. I think Wolverine is in this game at some point too. Like you have to fight Wolverine as Venom. Because you crash into a bar where Wolverine is hanging out, and you have to like kick his ass. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you fight the Green Goblin. Yeah, Adrian Toome, the Vulture is in this game. It's so fun, and I can't find the voice actor for Spider-Man here, but yeah, man, it meant a lot to me. I remember a lot of sleepless nights staying up with my friend Caleb, and we were just blasting like Breaking Benjamin and new metal from like 2006 and 7, and we were just taking turns playing this game, swinging around the city trying to like find all of the objectives. Or not find all of the objectives. It seems like such a mom way of explaining video games. There were a lot of collectibles to find. There were a lot of races to do and time trials to do and costumes to unlock. Like you only unlock certain costumes by like meeting certain objectives, like defeating, a certain amount of enemies, by throwing them. Like that earned you a costume. Maybe. I don't remember it super well, but that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm like. These like bottom list games, they're only down there because I have really fond memories of them as a kid. But as I start moving up, I'm gonna start talking about games that either I have played recently and also come from my childhood, and I can objectively say like, yeah, this is a good game. But for now, these are games that I just treasure a lot, and they have alternatives. Like, obviously, playing Ultimate Spider-Man on the PS2 is only going to be fulfilling for people who have already played it, or for the sake of satiating anyone's curiosity, just to see what previous Spider-Man games were like, the evolution of Spider-Man games. But if you want to play a good Spider-Man game, just get a PS4 or play it on it's on PC now too, right? Because people are modding it.
Yep.
Yeah, play the original, on PS4. Play the new one. Spider-Man 2 is coming out in the fall. So if you have a PS5, you're definitely playing the new Spider-Man because I can guarantee, going to be competing with Tears of the Kingdom for Game of the Year. I can't hear you. Bro. That's wild.
Can't hear me.
Yeah, you broke the sound barrier for a second. You were laughing so hard.
Oh, you fucking... Yeah, man, I played that game once at Alex's house because he has it too.
Yeah.
I played it for one sitting and that was it.
Did you like it?
I mean, it seemed fine, but like, I don't know, maybe just a little outdated.
Yeah, there are better Spider-Man games out there, and that's why I can't put it higher on my list. But I really like it. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero ever, definitively. I always thought it was kind of a cheap choice, so I chose Iron Man for a while, and then I chose like Captain America. But I'm like, nah, man, Spider-Man's where it's at.
Yep.
He's just so cool. And anytime I imagine what it would be like to have powers, I'm like, I'd want to be Spider-Man. Just like even small things like being able to thwip, a remote over to you, or like I'd be playing with the web shooters all day if I were Spider-Man. I'd just be like shooting them at birds and stuff. Not at birds. Obviously not at birds. But, I don't abuse animals is what I'm saying. I need to clarify that in case PETA is watching.
Fuck you, PETA.
Bless you. PETA. So, there you go. There's my updated list. If it feels like we're a little low energy today, I don't know. It's hot out. I don't want to do nothing. And it's been a sort of a busy weekend. I don't know how busy your weekend was, but...
So I saw a concert on Friday, went to a John's barbecue on Saturday, had practice yesterday. So yeah, very busy.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Yeah, if you liked this, however you're hearing it or watching it, feel free to follow us on stuff, because we do things beyond the podcast. I record and release music sometimes. David does a lot of videos ranking music on his YouTube channel, DK Media Music.
That's who's next. You can't see it. You can.
I can see it. I can definitely see it. And I'm only mentioning this because when trying to use the new YouTube tag system, for whatever reason, it never fucking works. It never works, because now you can't just put in the URL page. You can't just put in the URL for a YouTube page that you want to like put in a description. You have to do the @ because now all of these channels have like usernames, and whenever I try to put the @ Nick Scarpinato Music or @ DK Media Music, I hit save, and then the link goes away, and it goes like plain text. It's so frustrating. So yeah, if you want to venture out onto the parts of YouTube where we also are, do that. And until then, stay cool. Have a fun and safe July. It's like the hottest summer of the year. Son of a gun.
Woo.
I'm not looking forward to it, but I know some people are. And with all that said, I think I'm gonna go take a nap.
Alrighty.
Just kidding.
Watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
What time?
In like 2 hours.
Oh shit! All right.
Woohoo!
Well, yeah, you'll be hearing about that. But yeah, until next time, I'm Nick Scarpin Auto. Who are you?
You already know who it is.
Who are you?
It's your boy, Capuchet Cars.
This is Vanessa, and this is a 1969 Camaro SS. Yeah. And we'll see you next time, lovely passengers. Love you.